Well, I'd like to welcome all my guests to the program from London, Chairman of the Committee Against Torture in Bahrain, Mr. Rodney Shakespeare. And Mr. Shakespeare, when I listen to Mr. Rajab describe this very serious and very tough situation that they're facing, I think the first question, at least that comes to my mind, is why isn't his voice making any sounds or getting out to the rest of the world? Where is the international community? Where is the international media for the most part?
Well, the simple answer is that the international media, controlled by the Americans and by the Zionist control of America, is condoning the sudden and violent rise of fascism. When the ancient Roman general Julius Caesar wanted to destroy the ancient Britons, he searched for and ravaged the Druids' groves. These were the places of woodland worship, and that was the prelude to the physical destruction of the people. When Adolf Hitler, wanted to destroy the Jews, they ravaged the synagogues, and that was the prelude to the physical destruction of the Jewish people. And in both cases, with Julius Caesar and with Hitler, they had a philosophy which dehumanized the people that they were attacking. You now have exactly the same situation with the Wahhabis. The Wahhabi Muslims have doctrines and beliefs which dehumanize other Muslims. And goodness me, in exactly the same as with Hitler and with Julius Caesar, they even more dehumanize and treat as evil or beyond or non-human those who are not Muslims. Now, this is rapidly developing, and it is the initial invasion was ordered by the USA, and behind it is the Zionist control of American policy, and both Israel and Saudi Arabia are out to get the USA linked into a war with Iran. Israel and Saudi Arabia are promoting this fascism to a violent attack on the Bahraini people, and that will then, they hope, bring in Iran and will set off what they're after, which is effectively a third world war throughout the Middle East.
Well, what are you saying, Mr. Shakespeare? Mr. Shakespeare, what are you saying?
You're looking at fascism rampant.
Mr. Shakespeare, what are you saying? Are you saying that the Wahhabis are working hand in hand with the United States, or what are you saying exactly?
Well, I hope I'm saying it very, very clearly. The United States has got a policy of supporting the kleptomaniac killers and autocracies in that part of the world, and the deal is that the United States and the UK will support these regimes against their people. They're unstable regimes. And in exchange, those regimes will support the Zionist policy, which is ultimately going to suppress and prevent an independent Palestine. It's all linked together, and yes, I'm saying it very clearly that the Zionists and the Saudi Arabia, goodness me, Saudi Arabia have been linked since 1946. There's nothing new about it. But what is actually new is that in the last few weeks, the situation has become remarkably dangerous and is moving towards fascism rampant. And it cannot now be avoided. And the psychological moves and the physical moves are being made. And if it was one mosque, that could be an act of anger. It isn't. It's a systematic obliteration of the cultural identity of the Bahraini Shia, as I'm afraid what is going to be the prelude to a very much more serious physical destruction, which is already serious enough.
Situation to even imagine. What do you think that needs to be done by the rest of us that's outside of Bahrain in order to put enough pressure to stop the violence from taking place in Bahrain? What should be done?
Yes. Well, I have previously said that if people cannot protest or affect their government, they should get on the internet. There's another thing that they can do, which is very important. These splendid organizations like Human Rights Watch, Bahraini Human Rights, Amnesty International, they are collecting the evidence which at some stage in the future is going to be used to arraign these criminals before a criminal court of justice and to put them down for 20 years. Now, the more support you can give to the human rights activity, and that frankly means please get off your backside and put in 10 quid. If you can't be a member, 10 or 20 quid to one of the human rights organisations. They're spread around the world and they are bringing together the evidence. And let the message go to Rashid Khalifa, the torturer of Bahrain, that he is in line for a life sentence when we get to him. And at some stage, the human rights people will win. A torturer in Argentina has recently been imprisoned. It took 30 years to get to him. Well, I prophesy now that in this case, we will get the political pressure on. America may have the decency at last to realise that he's linked with fascism. America could stop all this. But in the meanwhile, since America is controlled by the neocons and the George Bushites, and in particular by the Zionists, we have to assume that America is going to go on supporting this. But eventually, we'll get, say, maybe a motion in the Security Council or other developments, and in particular, there will be political developments. So the message is to those killers now, we are going to get you, and we are people spread right the way around the world who are going to use eventually the forces of politics and the forces of law, and you're going down for a life sentence.
Okay.
So you better wake up. That what you're doing, you are implementing fascism, you're out of control, and you pull back now, or at some stage, we will get you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chairman of the Committee Against Torture in Bahrain, Mr. Rodney Shakespeare. And